Hi, welcome everybody to the Sustainable Business Council's Thriving Voices, Thriving People podcast. My name's Rebecca Mead and I'm really delighted today to be hosting on behalf of DB Breweries. Today we are going to be talking about demystifying menopause. And the reason why this is such an important topic is that it's possibly one of the most unrecognised contributors to gender inequality in our workplaces at the moment. And I guess a lot of the reason for that is because of a lack of awareness, often a lack of understanding, and sadly a lack of support. And I would suggest in many cases also unintentionally a lack of support. And that's because we simply don't talk about this enough. So today we're going to change that because we are going to talk about it. Because I'm very lucky to have with us today Jeanette, and Jeanette is, among other things, the Global Chief People Officer for PH Creative, but also has set up her own social enterprise called Power Cause. So really lucky to have you here today. So kia ora, welcome and thank you.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
So I'd love to kick things off by actually asking you to have, or tell us a little bit, as much as you're able to and prepared to, about your own story.
Okay.
Why are you here? Why are we talking to you as a bit of an expert in this area?
When I came to New Zealand, I moved then from Spark to an executive role in ASB Bank, and with that move, that was at the point where my HRT ran out. I'd gone back to England, I got some more prescription, but it ran out just as I started with ASB. And it was a full-on role, which any executive role is a full-on role. But I started to find, as time went on, it was great for the first 7 or 8 months. Did a lot of great things in there, but I then started to find that I wasn't at my best. I'm very far from my best, and I wasn't coping or thriving in the role. And I was having brain fog and memory loss and anxiety, weight gain, all sorts of things that I actually thought I had early onset dementia, and I was terrified about that. And I never gave myself time to go to the doctor, so I take full accountability for what happened to me. But the other thing with that was the perfect storm was nobody knew me here, so nobody realised that for 30 years I've been in a great career trajectory, 20 years of those as an executive, and I'd always performed well in my jobs, and nobody knew me in New Zealand in the corporate environment, so they didn't know to say, hang on a second, that's not like her, that's not like Jeanette. I think they just thought I was incompetent, or, and particularly, relationships as well. There were a few times where you have mood swings that you can't control with menopause through the stage, and if you're not treating it or being supported through it, those can have an effect on. They really can have an effect on relationships. So I quit. And I quit a really great job, lovely people. I'm still an ASB customer, but I quit, and I decided that I definitely had early onset dementia. Went to the doctor, finally made time to do that, and the doctor said, you don't have early onset dementia, you just need some HRT, you need hormone replacement therapy. We'll just get you a prescription that works for you. She gave me an estrogen patch, progesterone tablet. And my life changed almost overnight, but certainly within a week, I got myself back. I felt like I had my mind back. I could articulate. I could actually remember things. I could remember my children's names. That was great. And just everything started to work again, and I felt like myself again. I really had lost myself. And then I just thought, holy smoke, I've been a chief people officer and I had no idea that this happens. And then boom, the light went on. And I thought, holy moly, so many women fall out of employment at this stage of life when they're at the power, the most powerful, the most experienced, the most wise, generally don't have young children anymore to have to look after, have a lot more freedom, but then can't cope with all of these symptoms of menopause and think they're losing their mind. And it suddenly dawned on me, there is a correlation and there are studies right now going on to prove this, but there is a correlation between the low number of women in leadership roles, a low number of women in executive, in politics, wherever you look, in every sector of society, women aren't represented at the top levels of leadership. And I finally, bang, this is a big factor. Decided I just had to do something about it. A lot of people go through menopause and then they're fine, they're great, they go on with their life. But I thought, I can't let this happen. I've spent too long trying to get more women in leadership roles. So I have to do something about it. And that's how Pause was born.
Wow, amazing. Thank you. So I guess it's fair to say that menopause is possibly one of our last taboos, or one of the last bastions that we don't actually openly talk about, particularly in the workplace. So why do you think then that businesses should actually take this so seriously? What are they going to get from it?
They're losing so much talent. I mean, the biggest demographic in the workplace is going to be older women, and that's proven as a statistic. I mean, there's a study that's going on at the moment in the UK that's just been commissioned by Standard Chartered, and based on the fact that 900,000 women quit their jobs every year over menopause in the UK.
Wow.
And this is a country of just over 60 million people. But 900,000 women quitting jobs because of menopause, perimenopause in this stage. It's a real issue. So in the city, of course, they're realising they can't get. They're trying to fill board quotas, they're trying to fill leadership quotas, and you can't, because you just don't have that pipeline of people coming through because women quit. So it's a real issue for workplaces. So it's a real issue from a retention point of view. It's a real issue for diversity, equity, inclusion, and it's a real issue for the future and for engagement of your people. So it's not just about women. So when we talk about importance for the workplace, all of the men in your workplace, the young people in your workplace, you might think menopause doesn't affect them, and why would it? But then they've got people in their families and extended networks. They've got people in their teams that they're working with. It affects absolutely everybody. Half of the population will go through this. Many are going through it at any one stage, and in New Zealand, very conservatively, in my sessions, I say it's about it's conservatively 350,000 people. It's actually, most people think it's way more than 500,000 women going through perimenopause right now and suffering symptoms, and that's a phenomenal number. So we really do need to take it seriously if we want to have a diverse, inclusive workplace.
I mean, I certainly recognise a lot of what you're saying, both personally but also from a work perspective in terms of the business that I work in. So for companies like us who do want to be trying to do something, I'm glad to say it's a transition and a temporary phase.
Yes.
It's also natural, which and it's a life cycle. But from your point of view, what can businesses be doing to actually support people? Not necessarily just the person going through menopause, but also those that are around them that care about them.
Be knowledgeable about it, research it, understand it, create an environment that enables conversation, create workplace awareness for your leadership team, for anybody who is in leadership. And there are lots of men in leadership who would love to be supportive, but just don't have the first clue about what this subject is. I know, since I've left the job that I quit, a lot of the men, my executive team, we've met since then and had a good laugh about it, because we now understand it. But they said, I wish we'd known. They say, really wish we'd known. Just. So I think if you can create space, create forums like just Teams forums and so on, that people can talk about it and know that it's okay to do that. And then from just an action environmental point of view, you can do things like creating spaces that are menopause friendly, where people can go that are cooler. A lot of offices now have fully open plan, which is terrible for menopausal women if they suffer temperature issues. You just can't regulate your temperature a lot of the time. So if you can't actually go and turn the air conditioning down in a great big open space, and you're boiling and having a hot flush, it's really embarrassing and uncomfortable. And when women sweat with hot flushes, they need to have accessible facilities, so access to toilets, cold water, breaks, etc. Flexible working. I know a lot of companies are doing flexible working anyway now because of COVID, but just to keep it as something that if you're leading a team and there are people in the kind of age range that could be going through menopausal symptoms and they don't want to talk about it, but you see, that they're uncomfortable or they're having a hot flush, just enable that person to go and take a break, or enable them to start later in the morning, because guess what? They spent the whole night having night sweats, changing the bed linen, waking up with heart palpitations and thinking they were having a heart attack. So there are lots and lots of things that you just need to be aware of, that people will have fatigue. And it isn't just because they haven't got energy anymore, because that energy comes back. But they might be fatigued because of menopausal symptoms and need to start a bit later.
So who's doing this really well then? What businesses do you know of in New Zealand that we can learn from?
There are lots of businesses that are now reaching out and saying, we want to do something. So this morning, for example, I was at Kiwibank, and Kiwibank, oh my goodness, it just went crazy for this session. Their women leadership team had a session that was just oversubscribed, and they recorded it, so just hundreds of people who really wanted to know about the issue and were really impressed with Kiwibank for actually doing it, for holding a session about menopause. And what they're going to do now, their Chief People Officer, Charlotte Ward, who's amazing, she said what they're going to do now is develop within that women in leadership team, and it includes men as well. There's lots of men in it as well on the chat through the session, but they're going to work together to create a menopause policy for Kiwibank. And one of the things I suggested is Vodafone in the UK have got amazing menopause policies, and they're probably at the forefront of this from a company perspective, and they give all of their assets out for free for people to use, because it's like me, PowerPause, my PowerPause website, all my resources there are free, because we want to get the word out. We want to actually increase globally, we want to increase women in leadership. So there are lots of companies who've reached out to me to do sessions. So, for example, I've been in Nelson City Council. They ran menopause workshops for their people and looking at the policies for them. And Northern DHB, we're going to go and do PowerPoint sessions with them, and that's 3,600 people. Oh, Vector, Fiona Michelle's phenomenal, Melissa Crawford, they're incredible. They're always at the forefront of everything that is future of work.
What about advice for individuals? I appreciate it's not just women, but I guess women potentially going through in the early stages of perimenopause or menopause, or people that know of colleagues, family, friends. Any advice, tools, resources, things that people can do to find out some more information?
Yeah, definitely. There is actually a lot of information if you go and find it. So what I did with PowerPause, the website, and it's powerpause.co.nz, it's free. And the news and resources page is just absolutely full of amazing resources that other people have created. So whether it's US, New Zealand, UK websites, there is lots and lots of information. There are some amazing specialists.
Some very sage advice. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And I guess a bit of a call out as a close to the podcast to any of the other members listening today. Anything else you think would be an appropriate topic for a podcast? Anyone else who would love to host? Please contact Rob Perry. He'd love to hear from you. And thank you very much, Jeanette. I really
Thanks,
appreciate
Rebecca.
it.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Cheers.